Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back for part two, Keeping It Spiritually Simple. I'm your host, Sandra, and I am here with Shar, Lynn, Wyeth, again with Know Your Name and the secrets revealed in the letters of your name. And I had a session, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
And it was very, very powerful and very helpful. So basically, what I'm learning in my session is before I incarnated, I'm looking at the characteristics of my parents before I've chosen them. So apparently my dad had family comes first, blood is thicker than water, very intelligent. My mother, father, and I all learned visually similar. My dad learned his value was more in higher education, doing things better. My mom was very fair. She could do things well for other people and stick up for other people, but she learned to give her own power away. So there was a variety of things that both my parents had. And I chose to either come in to be like that or to be better than that, to really empower that. So I either watched it or it was lack of, and therefore I compensated on it. Would that be about correct?
Correct.
Okay. So in choosing that, then we have our 7 experiences that we want to choose. We want to learn. And some of them are one and done. Some of them receive a reward and a gift. And then, of course, then there's your soul goal. So can we just talk about my 7? I'm going to go a little bit off memory here, but the experiences that I wanted to have, I mean, I know you had them in order. I don't have them as in order in my brain, but my thing was wanting to experience people skills. And therefore that required adaptability, that required communication, that required patience. And then there's the opposite of that when you don't have it. You know, you don't have the patience, you don't have the adaptability, and so on. And I was like, checkpoint, because I'm always about the patience, you know. And then there was, I think you said I gave myself 3 lifetimes to try this one. And it was knowing that basically I'm a spark of God, and that's all the value that I need. My books, everything else are not as important, but just knowing that I'm the spark of God, and understanding that, then I could be one and done versus coming back 2 more lifetimes to figure that out. So I was like, thank goodness I've been working on that one. And then I had that I was more observant and higher intuitive than many other people. I had a really high intuitive and observer. So when I am in a room, sometimes I look around and I'm like, how did you not get that? How did you not figure that out about that person? Because I just know stuff, right? So that was one. The opposite of that would be just shutting that down and so on. I'm going to let you elaborate. I wanted to come into this lifetime understanding a little bit about religion, because my previous lifetime, I was highly spiritual. I understood it. I made my living with it. This time I wanted a little bit of religion to understand it a little bit better, and also to be able to work and pay my way versus spiritually people giving me food, shelter, clothing for all that I needed. And let's talk more about some of those, and then we'll go into what my soul goal was, which kind of surprised you. Oh, and I'm a peacekeeper. I'm a big peacekeeper. So harmony, balance. This is what it was. This is what stuck. I came in with a balance of mind and emotion and heart. So I could keep all 3 of those intact and in line. And of course, we know what the opposite of that would be. But I'm getting really good at it. It's taken me 6 decades, but I'm getting there. I don't want 6 more to learn it, but anyway. So go ahead, talk about. This is what did I write down? Is that I came in. My name came in where I'm very, very likable. So likable that if someone didn't like me, it was about them, which brings me to what my motto has been as an adult, And the thing is, if you can't get along with me, it's your problem, because I'm so adaptable and likable and honest and keep things very fair that it's like, if you don't like me, go away. It's your problem. Figure yourself out. And I liked that. I was like, yes, I'm doing A-okay this time around.
Okay, so out of the 7, the first 2 are what I call the boomerangs, because those you get from different people, different directions, different methodologies. You get them your entire life. They just keep coming around to keep getting better and better so that your skills develop better and better in those 2 areas. So we come here for the experience of it. We already are tapped into God, so therefore we have the knowledge. We just don't have the experience to go with the knowledge. And I will often say that we have the knowledge of E equals MC squared, Einstein's theory of relativity, but we don't know where the numbers come from that get used in that formula. We don't know when to apply that formula. We don't know when we have to tweak it, or when a different formula would be better for that situation, because we haven't all worked with that formula. Okay, so the first 2 are the ones where we've got to work with the most and get the experience to go with that piece of knowledge that we already hold. And then the middle 3, numbers 3, 4, and 5, are what I call the one and dones, as you said earlier, that once you get the skill, it's like a tool in your tool bag. And how I like to describe that is, if you came down, let's say, to learn how to play a Beethoven concerto on the piano, and then you decided you now want to play Mozart, well, you don't have to relearn how to play the piano. That's one and done. You just rinse and repeat and apply it in a new area. Mm-hmm. So those are the 3 middle ones. And then the last 2 are the ones that, as you were saying, that once you've done them, you get an instant reward in this lifetime. You got this, so you get rewarded with that, okay, as you're going through. And then they all come together to give your soul the overall reason that it came, okay, what it wanted to experience. And these are all the subparts. So in your name, the first 2 are the most important. And the first one was, as you said, people skills and patience. Patience is a big part of people skills. And then it's the tact, and it's not holding resentments when things don't go well. It's the letting go of it, and knowing how to interact with others in a way that is productive and harmonious. And I go into more detail on that during a reading, but it's definitely patience and people skills. And then the second one, that's a boomerang that you get to go through your entire lifetime with. And I thought it was funny because you had such a good memory going back through different ones of these skills and different gifts that you gave yourself in your name. And this one you totally just didn't mention at all. And I thought, yep, don't like this one. And this is the one where we said that you've always been taken care of by others. So you've got to learn how to pay for yourself. Mm-hmm. Okay. And sometimes that can be rough. And it's also included in that is how to use the resources that you do have and not waste them. Okay. Use them to their best ability, because you haven't had to do that for yourself previously, because you didn't put a great deal of importance on money. And so you didn't gain those experiences. So this lifetime around, it's like, how do I learn to pay for myself? Mm-hmm. And how to, utilize your resources? Then those are the 2 that are boomerangs, going to constantly come back around. Then the middle 3, you hit upon. You have a really good memory here. On 2 out of the 3, you absolutely mentioned. And you really did a good job remembering all of that, considering, how much information is given. So that one is that you are a spark of God, that you're going to get your self-worth and value. Normally, there's a minimum of 3 lifetimes, but because of where this landed, that if you get that this time around, you can do it in 1, which is just really, really rare. Okay, to know your own self-worth and value. And the second of your one and dones was that nice balance between emotions and mental, between the feeling and the mental, and to keep those in balance. And that anytime your head and your heart disagree, trust your heart over your head, because your name says trust your heart first.
Thank you.
Okay. Even though you're going to be tempted to trust your head. Yeah. Okay. But you came in with that nice balance, and can you keep it? And then the last of your one and dones is that you have in your name where people want to take advantage of you or steal from you or take from you what is not theirs to take. Okay, so that would mean you're learning safety. You're learning safety for your physical belongings. You're learning safety for your person. You know, it's learning safety and concentrate on safety. And when that becomes a habit, then when you've done your best, as the saying goes, God does the rest.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's to stay balanced or stay focused on safety until it's a habit. You know, like when you walk into a theater, where are you going to sit? It's safer to sit by an exit door than it is in the middle where you can't get out should there be a fire or something else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the last two that there's an instant reward for is the first one is that you have obligations and to family. And just as you said, you know, your dad came in with blood's thicker than water. So you've learned some obligations that you have for family just because they're family. Okay. And can you carry those out without any resentment? And the reward for that, once you can do that, is that you actually do get closer with family and appreciate them more, and they appreciate you more. Okay. So the family relationships immediately improve. And the last of that was in here was that you bring people around you that don't want to follow the rules. And so can you adapt to that and not want to cream them? You know, we have certain things that we all agree upon, like driving on the road. If we have people that don't want to follow the rules and drive on the right-hand side of the street, well, they cause accidents. And so there's a part of you that says, just follow the agreed upon rules and we'll all get along better. And so it's literally, how do you deal with those people that don't want to do that?
Yeah, you mean like the speed limit? Like get going? Like you slow pokers, like get out of the fast lane. If you're going 50, it's 75, like go.
Yeah, so it's literally how you deal with people who don't want to follow the agreed upon agreements. Okay, and the reward, that's one of your instant rewards. And the reward is that you will actually have more peace within yourself, because then they won't irritate you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so, and then we said the overall goal. Once we put everything together that we talked about during the entire session, your overall goal was literally to become really dynamic, to take all of these gifts and talents, because you really stack the deck with gifts and talents, and to take all of them and utilize them in a way that you are very dynamic and very self-assured and can come across and share what you've come to share and be pleased with it. You know, you don't have any arrogance in your name, so you don't have to watch out for that, and just be dynamic so that you attract more people to your message.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know for me, all of this was when I was having my session, I was like, check that I've been going through that, or check, I have struggled with that. And that's so important to me. And when you talked about safety, I've always been aware of the room, like even for other people, it's like, there's the exit, my back is towards this group is doing this. So just kind of I'm scanning, hovering, and observing a room. And I do the same thing with like the kids' school trips. You know, I could have one eye out for where everybody in my team that I'm responsible for, I could just scope around and just know where everything was and who was around them. So and I did the same thing with my siblings when I was little, very protective of them as well. Just being able to know that if something occurred, I could jump to attention.
Right. And it's a safety thing. And once that's a habit, that the beautiful part of that is once that's a habit, you've done your best. So then God does the rest.
Yes.
You know, and keeps you safe.
Yes.
But that safety had to be a habit.
Yeah. Oh, and I really liked the, you know, not giving your power away kind of thing, because my mom gave her power away to the man in the house because that's what she did. That's what she was trained to do. And I always thought things to just be more equal. Like no one had the final say without having a discussion about it, you know?
Right. But what's beautiful about choosing our parents and that whole section of the thing is that we see what they're doing, and then you make a decision. Are you going to duplicate it because they did it really well? Or can you see it so clearly because they were a negative example and something that you want to learn how to do in the positive way? So you go, I see the pitfalls of that one because it makes it clearer to see. You go, no, I'm going to choose differently for me.
Yeah. Now for me, this was like a basic session about learning just about myself and being able to pat myself on the back or say, oh, I need to work a little bit more on this. This is something I came in to do. This is something I came into experience. I want to master that. So let me focus on this a little bit more. So that is a huge advantage just on self. What I want to do is learn more about, how to interact with others and become a better communicator. For me, I don't need a lot of attention and I don't like it. Just give me something, tell me what you need. I can read between the lines and I'm going to get it done. I don't need a lot of warm and fuzzy. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then I have people in my life that need the warm and fuzzy. And I'm like, I have to find the patience to be with that, because it's like, hold on a second, just do your job. What do you need? What do you need stroking for?
Well, the first vowel, an A and a Y, do not need the warm and fuzzies. The first vowels of E's and U's definitely need the warm and fuzzies.
Interesting.
So if you look at it and you just go, hey, their first vowel's an E. Oh, their first vowel's a U. Okay, let's start with communication. Let's start with the warm and fuzzy. And see, because you're an A, you want to jump right into work.
Yeah.
And so like if somebody on the phone says, hi, how are you? You're already saying you're wasting my time. What do you want?
Yeah. Sometimes,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, but other people, if you don't start with, hey, how's it going? How are you? How's the family? La, 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 then they can't get into the work or what you need to have done, because their whole time they're saying, she didn't even care about me. She didn't even ask how I was doing.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you know the vowels, you know how to approach, and that first vowel of an A is just, let's get her done. We got so much stuff on our plate. What do you need? Let's take care of it fast. Let's get her done.
Yeah.
Let's be quick and efficient and do it right, but get her done.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time the first vowel of an A is the one in charge is when they worked for incompetence, because the workload needs to get done. And if you can't do your job and you're the boss, then eventually the A will do their job and the boss's job until the boss's job is their job. But if the boss is competent, hey, the A is really happy not being the one in charge.
Well, you know what? I think that comes to, there was something else that, because we're only just giving a brief, you guys, on what we went through for my session, but there was another one in there about being as good of a follower as a leader. And, that is something else that I prided myself on. One, if you don't like me, it's your problem. Two, is a good leader has to have a good core following. And so if a leader is taking control and going forth and doing a great job, then I have no problem with the following, because I want to be able to be the best follower I can be, because together we make the best unit. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
right.
There are some people out there that have a difficult time following, and they want to jump right to the driver's seat, take over, and think they can do the job better. And 9 times out of 10, they get in there and realize they can't. But it's just that control jump. You know what I mean? It's like, but so I think that speaks to what you just said about if the boss is doing a great job, then hey, everything's good. If they're not, then hey, how can I do your job, my job, and if you can't do it, then I'm just going to take over.
Right.
That sounds a lot like me.
But that's typical of people that have that first vowel of an A.
Okay.
Because people that first vowel of an A, unless their name ends in an I, they don't need the limelight. They just need to get the job done. And so it's whatever it's going to take to get the job done, because they're work oriented. People with a first vowel of an A need to learn how to play.
Yeah.
And often by the time they're adult, especially once they're in their 30s, they've really forgotten how to play if they don't have what I want to call playmates or people in their life that remind them to take a break, have fun, let's go do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a lot of people that literally say, I don't remember what I like to do other than work.
I can't say that's me.
Yeah, well, they get so work oriented. Now, my best friend, the first vowel is a U. That's all about let's play and have fun, even though we're going to get the work done. We'll do what we have to do, but my gosh, let's go have a good time. Mm-hmm. And so I think having a best friend who's got a first vowel of a U, for me, is very handy. And there's different times she'll interrupt during my day. And it's like, have you had a break yet today? I'm giving you a break. Talk to me. stop working for a while, because
Mhm.
we will work. We have two speeds, 100 miles an hour and 0.
And that's
You know,
probably
and
why my roommate and I bounce so well. She's a U and I'm the A.
yeah,
However, I do like to play, and I like to play as hard as I work,
I
but I
was
like
going to
the
say
work done first.
yes, but play to us is almost work, because we want to be just as good at it as we are at our work.
You mean like
'Cause
being productive when you're shopping? Like,
Yes.
like I came here for one dress, and that's what I'm going to look for is one dress. I don't have time to window shop. I don't want to window shop. Is that what we're talking about?
See, and to me, that's not play.
Exactly. I'm saying I made it like it.
Yeah,
A lot of people just like to play with that, and I'm not one of them.
right. But the you will go window shopping all the time, but she'll know exactly where to go to get exactly what you want, because she's done all the preview work of all the window shopping.
Mm. That makes
Okay.
so much sense. That makes so much sense.
So if you know how the vowels act, so the vowels carry our emotions or show our feelings. Okay. That's located in the vowels. And then our attitudes are represented by the consonants. So that's why I literally on knowthename.com, I give access to the third book that's just the vowels for everybody. So you can learn all the things like how they react in relationships, how their learning style, all of that. You know, I remember when I was the second in charge at a high school, and my principal, he'd get upset with me sometimes because I couldn't stand it when he'd take a phone call when I was in the office. It was like, let's get done what we need to get done. My plate's full. I got to get out of here. And he'd take a phone call for 10 or 15 minutes and hold me in the office when I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you know what I could get done in this 10 or 15 minutes. And so I garnered this habit of reading everything on his desk upside down. I can read it upside down because when you're helping kids, the teacher's usually looking at their paperwork upside down. You learn how to read upside down. So I would read everything so that then I could go quick, you know, once he's off the phone. Of course, he hated it that I would literally scan every paper on his desk and read it. You know, and I think, but I'm bored. Don't take phone calls while I'm in here. Get me out of here.
Yeah.
You know,
I hear you.
He wasn't an A.
He wasn't an A?
No. But me being an A, it's like, let's get the work done. Let's move on.
Wow.
But he was so good. He was an O. O's are natural bosses and natural nurturing of others. I am so grateful that he was my first boss when I became an administrator. I learned so much from him. You know, so much. And he had a few little habits that I thought, God, I wish these were different, but I learned so much from them. Like when it was time to go home, he invariably would come and sit in my office and I'd go, oh, I was just getting ready to go home. And then we'd have these long discussions and it would take him much longer to discuss something. And I'd think, get to the bottom line, you know, let's make this quick. And then he'd go, oh, remind me of that tomorrow. We'd come to some kind of decision. He'd go, remind me of that tomorrow. And I would literally write it on a Post-it note and literally stick it on his jacket. And there was one time when he went back to his office and his secretary was working late and she took a picture of him. You could not see his jacket. It was solid Post-it notes all the way down the front, you know. But I'd always think, don't tell me to remind you of something tomorrow. I don't want that in my responsibility. Here, I'm going to write on Post-it note and give it to you. And I'm going to give it to you on your jacket so you don't lose it. And then you've got all your own reminders. You can take them off and put them on your desk, you know?
Oh my goodness. You know, I'm thinking as you're talking and then having my session and things like that. And the biggest demise of almost all relationships is communication.
Yes.
And how to communicate, whether it's your boss, a coworker, you know, an intimate lover, a friend, your children. It's always about communication skills. And there are so many communication courses out there and people still can't figure it out. You know what I mean? This to me is so, it's complex, but yet it's simple science if you just read your material and have a session. First of all, let you know how people communicate with you, why you communicate the way you do, at least snippets of it, right? And then now it's like, you go on to a next session and then it's more in depth, and then you get the books and then it's more in depth, and then click, light bulbs are going off. But it's always about communication. I mean, why do you think counselors and psychologists and all them are like book solid all the time? It's all about communication.
Well, it is. And then the quality of our relationships determines the quality of our life. Now,
Yeah.
all the skills in the world, okay, will not help if somebody's not willing to hear the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. I have been around people when I say, this is my truth, and you watch them react. And I can say it in a way where they can hear it, but it's so anti-thema to how that person's belief structure is given that they can stand back, because some people like to live in illusion. And you can tell which letter combinations those are in a name. And so that you just know if they have illusion in their name, you can do your very, very best and sometimes not get anywhere. So it's like knowing that there are certain combinations that it won't be up to you at all, because you can do everything right and they still won't hear you because they have illusion in their name.
So just very briefly, how would you know if someone has illusion in their name? Well, I mean, like, what would that
There's
little combo?
different combinations, like AL is one of the combinations. Like Crystal has it at the end of the name, Alicia has it at the beginning of the name, but AL is one of the ways that illusion shows up in a name. And therefore, you can have what you consider a really good relationship, and all of a sudden it goes askew and you have no idea why.
Yeah.
And that's because they need to stay in their world of illusion versus recognizing the truth or being realistic.
That makes
again,
total
it's no
sense.
judgment. Yeah. And again, it's no judgment. It's just knowing that if you're, excuse me, that if you're doing everything you possibly can and it doesn't work when they have those combinations in their name, know that they're not ready for the truth yet. And they would rather stay in their world of illusion because it's safer, it's more comfortable.
Yes. Yes. That is amazing. That is amazing. Well, I got to tell you, I could talk about this for hours, and we're probably going to have to come back and do this again as I get more in depth and learning more and more about this, because, you know, communication is something I really want to work on, being in the arena that I am with the healing work and so on. I have to really listen, but I also have to listen with my feeling and my compassion and my patience and my understanding and all those things that I came in here to be balanced with, you know? So now that I have some of these tools in my toolbox, which I like my toolboxes, I do, I want some more in there. So let's tell our viewers how they find you, and we'll go from there.
The easiest way to find me is at the website knowthename.com, which is the first half of my book titles. And so you just go to knowthename.com. If you're somewhere where you're listening to this and you cannot write it down right now, like you're driving or something, when you get home, you just simply say, oh, I need to know the name of that website. Oh, that was it. Know the name. And then from Know the Name on the services page, you get to see 4 boxes, and it says what I offer, like readings, or if you want to learn Nameology science, or you want to purchase the books to teach yourself. It's all right there. And the books are written very sequentially, so that every chapter builds on the chapter before. It's kind of like I was a math teacher for all those years, and you get your foundation and then you build and you build and you build. So some people would say, no, I just want to look up my name, but it doesn't work that way because you're looking up combinations, and then you got to learn the rules of how you interpret it, because sometimes it says you are this way and something else can follow it. And it says, no, you're learning to be that way, or you're learning to reject that way, or whatever. So you've got to read it in order. But it's very clear and it's very succinct, and people can teach themselves through the books. Some people are not book learners. They'd rather have the experience, you know, and being, because they're auditory learners instead of visual learners.
Yeah.
And so I would suggest for those people and the kinesthetic learners to take the online classes, and they're all online, literally recorded from me teaching the classes. So it's like you're right there in the class. And at the end of every concept, you literally get a phone call with me, because I don't care how many questions are asked, and you'll always come up with your own. Wait, I didn't get this piece. I didn't get that part. And I know that I get kind of frustrated sometimes when I'm learning something online and I don't get to ask my questions. So at the end of every concept, you get a phone call with me and let's go over your questions, because I want those answered before you start going to the next concept. So you get the privilege of getting it on your own time and not having to travel. And at the same time, you still get your private time.
Yeah, and then you can pick the times of the day that you can dedicate to just reading it without being interrupted. Well, that's cool, because not all online things are like that. You have have live classes and so on. But the fact that you get to have a conversation with you after is awesome.
Well, see, but that's the teacher in me. It's like you need a chance to get your own questions answered. And so it's the best of what I consider online classes, because you get to listen to it. You get to see things, because there's handouts and everything that you can download. So you get to see it, you get to hear it, and you get to do it. And when you're taking the classes online, I send you a mystery box so that literally everything you're going to need that I'm going to reference is in that box. And there's no excuse like, oh, I got to go to the store now and get this. I mean, it literally arrives so that you've got everything you need.
Ah, Sharon, this is amazing. Well, I'm going to be committing to learning more about it, because communication is key about everything. And
well, it is.
It truly is. Even sometimes when I thought I was communicating, I could have communicated better if I understood the name of the person I was communicating with.
Yes, because you know how to start, and there's 6 vowels. We all have one vowel that sits across. I put it on a big wheel. So the vowel that sits across from us, we have the most miscommunications with, because their talking style, their communication style is directly opposed to our own natural one. And everybody's got one of those letters across from them. And then you'll watch in the diagrams that I send out, because I believe in pictures are worth 1,000 words, that you can see how I connect it, like whose responsibility it is in the wheel to learn the other one's methodologies, because the other one's not going to learn it. So you know whose responsibility in a relationship it is to make sure it works. And then you learn which are your best letters, first vowels, again, communication, which are the ones easiest to work with. So if I'm going to have a project, I want people with those other vowels. But it tells me which ones. And then it even has on the wheel, which are the best ones for a long-lasting marriage, which are the easiest ones that are going to take the least amount of work.
And picking, my mind's like, ding, 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 ding. This is so exciting. Well, we know it's knowyourname.com. So Sharon Lynn Wyeth, this has been incredible, just incredible. And I can't wait to do this again. And each viewer, the links will be in the description. I strongly encourage you to go to the site, know the name, look at what's available for you there, and understand communication is key. Even if you're just doing it just to browse, I promise you will be intrigued to go to the next level, because that's what happened to me. And then I had to have this one right here, this beautiful lady in front of all of us sharing this information. And the teacher in you also being the founder and the creator of this is in your DNA, and you want to see everybody really understand it. And I can feel that just bouncing off of you, and that's just awesome. That's just awesome.
What's really nice is that, like, even if you're taking the classes, I even give you what I call brag sheets. And, I didn't call them tests in the classroom, but I mean, everybody freezes up. I just go, okay, now we get a chance to brag. How much have you learned so far? This is a brag sheet, but there's self-checkpoints along the way that we do. And I think people surprise themselves, because I use so many mnemonic devices and stories and everything else to get it sunk into the brain. I think people really surprise themselves on the brag sheet with how quickly they're learning it. So there's 3 different levels of Nameology science, depending on what you want to do with it. But the basic level gives the majority of people all that they would need. And so the basic level has these brag sheets in it, and it only takes 15 hours. So what took me 15 years to figure out, I get to teach it and share it in 15 hours. And then the second level is the subtleties. And if you want to work as a business, like, how do you create a new name? How do you create a name of a product? How do you create the name of a book? How do you help the HR department determine who would be the best ones to hire? it's all of that, like how I work with all the different businesses. And then the third level is, because you need those backgrounds first, is how do you determine the 7 pieces of the subsets and why somebody's here. Because you learn how to compare the names in the first one.
Yeah.
You know, the first one's all about your own communication and making better relationships. So the comparing of 2 names, all of that's in the first one, which is, like I said, the majority of what most people would need. And then if you want to do it for yourself and earn a living, you can do that by taking the second one, and then the third one adds on to that, so you can give more in-depth readings.
Yeah. And are you coming out with anything else?
The Know the Name, Know the Health will come out later this year. It's almost there. We're in the proofreading stages. And so I'm really excited about that book coming out. And again, it gives the letters in the last name for the health says that this is what you're carrying in your DNA. The letters in the middle name, if you have a middle name, says this is what you were born with, that you came in with. It needs to be cured already. And the letters in the first name say if you monitor your eating habits or your behavior habits or whatnot, you won't get this stuff. But if you're lazy, this is what's coming about to help you learn and have the experience of what you came on your blueprint to make sure you got done. And it's a very empowering book, because my understanding is if you understand what creates the illness in the first place, and you take responsibility that it's just your body attempting to communicate with you, then you also have the power, because you're not a victim, you have the power to correct it. And in the book, it literally says, here's the feeling, here's the thought pattern. When you put them together, you caused an emotion to happen, which goes on a mobile strip. And the body gets tired of hearing that mobile strip going around and around. And it finally will react with something to get your attention. And so it literally identifies this feeling with this thought causes this emotion. And here's the cure to get yourself out of that emotion, so that then your body can go ahead and heal itself.
Well, I always say everything in divine timing. And right now, with the climate that we're in, and so many people coming out with their healing work and how to empower each other, this is perfect timing for this. Perfect timing for this new book.
Stuff. Well, I'm excited about it. There's a little bit of cleanup work from my editor that I need to do on 2 chapters, and then it'll go back to the editor again, and then it'll be, then it'll get formatted and out.
Well, so, that's okay. You can take your time on that, because I've got some other things in your stuff that I need to go through. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself, and any viewer that's going to tap into this, that's going to like ignite them like it has me. Yeah, that's all going to come together. So again, everybody, thank you. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was in Alabama, and I said, I'll be so happy when this book comes out, because that completes the series of 4. You got every aspect of knowing how to interpret a name. And they said, yeah, but when you give readings, you can give us our past lives and our name from our name. And they go, how do you do that? And I go, don't even ask me for another book. I said, because I don't know how to explain that yet. It's the reason that the first book went through 3 editions, because I knew stuff, but I didn't know how to break it down to teach it on what I was doing. And so when I was giving workshops, I'd try this method or that method or whatever. And once I got one that worked repeatedly, then I wrote it in the book as new chapters and put out a new edition. So it's for past lives. I just look at it and I go, I know what I'm doing, but I don't know how to explain it. So whenever I figure that one out, maybe there'll be a 5th book in the series, and then I can really say I'm done.
Yeah, but we have to space things out, because you're being communicated with, and when it's time for the next one, that's fine. But right now, there's a lot in what you have. There's a lot in what you have out already. Okay, so accolades to you for that, for sure. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We will definitely have this beautiful woman back on again. Please go to knowyourname.com. The links and things will be in the description. And much love to you. And thank you so much for joining us.